Oh, it's so hard. You got to look up, you got to look down, got to look everywhere. There's always a foraging, right? Quite a few edibles along here, though. That is an edible, although it's a thistle family. It is edible, but not anything I want to monkey around with. No need to. The raspberries shoots are coming out. They're a little tall now, but these young shoots like this one right here, yeah, let me get that. There you go. So you can see that's one of the invasive blackberries. Sorry, I said raspberry. It's actually blackberry. That's one of the invasive. They get just massive, and look at the thorns on that. But these young shoots are edible, and it's a great way to kind of help prevent their growth. Use your glove, use a scissors. Oh man, there's a gorgeous flower. I want to check that out. Try not to trip here. Oh man, that is awesome. That is the first one I've seen this year. Look at that. That is gorgeous. Two of them. So that is purple trillium. Now trillium is edible. The leaves, the flower, it's all edible. However, I do not harvest them. These plants take like 9 years to flower. So they're very slow growing, very slow to flower. And it's just, to me, it's just not worth it. You pick that flower off. I mean, if the plant survives, it's another 9 years before you see that. So there's a lot of edible plants. I leave that one be and don't really mess with it. But it is a gorgeous plant. There's a white version here as well. So again, that's purple trillium. Look at the raspberry, the new raspberry growth. I'm sorry, blackberry. I keep calling it raspberry. But again, that new growth on those blackberries, that is edible. You can saute that up, use it for a tea. Very nutritional. Very awesome. Cool plant. That's a cool find. Get out of here without falling. I'm a-coming, I'm a-coming. He doesn't like the stopping part. He likes the going part. Some clover down there. You can see here, these trees, they haven't budded yet, or haven't opened up yet. They're still really small. So a couple weeks from now, come back out here, be able to harvest more of those spruce tips. Man, a lot of, anytime you have a logging area, which we're in now, you have a lot of thistle. It seems to love those clear cuts. Must be the sun getting through finally. Starting to be able to see the gulf. You probably can't see it. I can just barely see it. This will turn into a logging road at some point, and the view gets a little bit better. It's pretty dark today, so we're not going to have a great view, but it's not bad. Not a bad place to hike. I've went about 1.5 miles, and it seemed like there was a lot more to go, so I'm not sure how much land is back in here. Oh, yeah, watch them steps. You don't want to go down on these blackberries either. Those suckers, I'm telling you what, they will have their way with you. So watch your step. It's like maybe somebody's done some mountain biking in here. A couple tracks in the mud. I saw a lot of foxglove back when I was getting those spruce tips. Oh, look at here. Yeah, a little muckety. All right, we're on the edge here. Ooh, tight. Zip, zag, zoom. There we go. Made it and stayed dry. Check around this wet area, see if there's anything interesting. I don't see much right now. Yeah, see here. Mountain biker or dirt bike or something. I'm a coming. What in tarnation is that? It's like a snail without a shell. And it's alive. I guess that's a slug. Usually slugs are more slimy. He's not real slimy. Look at his back end too. That's weird. Damn thing looks like a leech. All right, on we go. All right, we have broken out into the clear-cut area. I don't know how old them trees are. 7, 8 years maybe. Little fire pit back here. Sure looks edible, doesn't it? Look at that foxglove. So I always think it's funny how there are plants out here that are just abundant, and man, if they were edible, you'd have so much food. That is foxglove. It'll produce a very pretty flower, but is definitely not edible. That is tansy ragwort. I don't know if that produces a flower or not, but tansy ragwort is actually poisonous to both animals and people. There's another specimen of it. And a young foxglove. Another foxglove, a lot of them. So again, if they were edible, there'd be a ton of food right here, but they are not. Definitely not something you want to play with. I don't know how poisonous the foxglove is, but it's definitely not an edible that you want to eat. Or definitely not an edible. But the tansy ragwort is definitely poisonous. Look here. That is the native blackberry. A lot smaller than the invasive, and very, very tasty. I think it tastes a lot better. Here's somebody's horn way off, man. It is starting to sprinkle. We might cut this short and get the heck back to the truck, because I didn't bring any rain gear today. My goal was to sneak out. Oh, there's another fun one. Look at that. You see this along the road, and you'll see it get huge. Got pretty yellow flowers. It's invasive here. I'm sure people planted it because it makes these pretty yellow flowers. However, that is not an edible plant. Now, there is a caveat to that. These unopened flower pods, you can take these and you can pickle them and make them. They are edible. They are edible when they're unopened. Here you go. So you can take those and pickle them, and then you can use them as a seasoning. Add them to dishes. It's a substitute. You can use it as a substitute for the little green pickled things that you add. I cannot think what they're called. But anyway, you can use it as a substitute for that. There's a bigger version of Scotch broom. So the plant itself is not edible, and the only part of it that's useful is those unopened flower buds. And again, you would pickle them and use them in small amounts as a seasoning, flavoring, add to a dish. Now, if you're doing wild edibles, one of the issues with that, of course, is the fact that you don't have a lot of seasoning and flavor, so it can be very earthy, very plain. So that would be a great add, right? That would give it a little extra flavor. There's a bunch of spruce tips along here. And the berry bushes are starting to flower. I'm excited for that. It's not quite May. It'll be May here in about 4 days. And once we get into May, really, I would say mid-June, the native blackberries should start getting ripe, and then by July, the other ones should be ready. So I'm excited for that. Another Scotch broom. And I don't know if you can see it yet, but we're starting to see the water. There's another edible. Looks like yellow dock. It's either yellow or curly dock. Both are edible. Used to be used as a pot herb. Sauteed up, added to salads. You know, I like those type of things. I like to cook them a little bit, so saute them. Like any wild vegetable, you know, use them in moderation. A lot of these wild vegetables, especially the greens, are high in oxalic acid. I mean, all your spinach and kale all has that. Some of these can be a little higher content, which is fine. Again, you're not going to eat a whole bowl or a whole salad of it, but you can add it to it. So now, if you've got some clover and maybe you've got some of those young blackberry shoots, you add a little bit of that to it. A little bit of dock to it, and you just kind of mix it up, and you'd be amazed by just taking a little bit of a lot of things how quickly you get a meal. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing overnights, I'll bring some pasta, some rice, or some lentils with, and I can use that and just add some of this stuff to it and cook it up into like a little stew or soup. You can even chop up some dehydrated meats into that, or if you're not going real far, just bring in some canned meat or something. But you can add to it. So you just take a little bit of a few things, you know, add a few spruce tips in there for flavoring. Pretty soon you've got yourself a pretty doggone good wild forage meal. The biggest thing is experimentation. I think a lot of times people try this stuff, it's not good the first time, right? They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to cook it. They don't know how to season it, and it tastes, again, pretty dry, right? Not dry, but you know what I mean. Pretty bland. So you really got to be willing to push through a few mistakes and figure out how to use this stuff. You will have some mistakes, I promise you that. So if you're out here enough, foraging for enough stuff, you're going to make some mistakes. But that's okay. You know, try it. I always like to try the first one in very small quantities. First of all, you want to make sure you're not allergic to it, because like the nettles, there are people allergic to nettles. So, you know, some people allergic to the mushrooms you buy in stores. So you just want to make sure you're not allergic to it. And then also, you know, you want to play around with the seasonings and stuff. Use your, you know, add it to your normal stuff at home if you want. You know, you can add some of these greens to spinach and kale. You can saute it with some rice or pasta. If you do rice, add a little soy sauce, sriracha, you know, just like you would any other time. And just add it in, and then slowly over time, you'll typically add more and more, and get more creative as you learn how to do it. We're gonna keep going here a ways. It's getting a little bit drippy, so I'm not gonna go too far, maybe another half mile, then we'll turn around. I should be about 1.5 miles in right now. Maybe go to 2 miles that way. It's 4 miles total. Not a bad little hike. Now it'll be time to go home and have a good port and a good hand-rolled cigar, I think. That's a good thing to do on a Sunday. If I find anything cool, I'll bring you back. Find anything good? Yeah, nah. Not a single mushroom to be found. Ooh, but look at that. Oh. Horsetail. A big old, oh my goodness. A big old patch of horsetail. Yeah, buddy. Them are some lookers too. Ooh. wonder if it's the water they're attached to. The mosquito harvesting pond. Oh, look at them. They're all along here. Man, that is amazing. There are some monsters in there. Look, here, there's the male. And I believe, where is he? Where'd he go? There. I believe that's the female. I believe that's the one that'll open up into the puffy part. But these are all males. Oh, dear. Man, they're everywhere. Let's talk horsetail for a minute. I really like this one. I don't use it a lot, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy it as occasional take home, chop it up, use it as a vegetable, kind of like asparagus. And I like it for a little trailside snack sometimes, especially if it's warmer out, because there's a lot of moisture in it. It holds a lot of moisture. Now there's two types of horsetails you'll see. There's actually a couple species you'll find. I don't know the difference between the species. I'm not really that well into the plant side of things, but these are the two you'll see around, right? Let me get that a little closer for you. The one on this side is a male, and this is a female. So when them ones I showed you earlier that were all bushed out along the side of the road, that plant that was all kind of bushy, that's this one once it opens up. That's the female. This is the male, and I showed you just a huge patch of those. So let's start with her. So this is a little smaller one, but she's just brand new. Now the one thing about a horsetail is nature protects itself pretty well sometimes, kind of like those blackberries have those vicious thorns. This has like a little peel on it. That little peel, that'd probably take the plaque right off your teeth. So you want to peel that off, right? And this is a very, it's jointed, so it comes off in little sections. Once you get that peel off, it's edible. And it's full of water. So it likes moist areas typically. That's why it's in there, all that lush grass and that water. So we can just pick that. You want to get that little peel off of there though, because like I said, that'd probably take your, what do you see, bud? What do you see? What is it? Deer? You see something. So you can take that home, cook it as a vegetable. It doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. It's kind of watery. Again, not a lot of flavor. The male. This is a bigger one here. This one you'll really get to see it. So again, we're taking off that little peel. Now this thing likes wet trail sides. Let's talk toxins a little bit. Pesticides, herbicides, car exhaust, all that stuff. You're going to hear a lot, read a lot online about that. Now there is some cautions one should take. Certainly gasoline and different things spew out from vehicles, and so there's some caution. But there's a lot of stuff. Oh, don't eat from the side of the ditch on the side of a road, or don't eat alongside of a house, or trails like this, they might put on some herbicides, which is very true. They may have. This one here, they have not. They'll usually, if it's public land, they have to post what they put on there and when they put it on last. A lot of moisture. This one actually had a little more flavor. Good. If you get a little bit of that skin in there, just spit it out, because again, you don't want to damage your teeth. But when you're peeling this, you'll actually see the water kind of bubbling in there. It's kind of interesting. Good hydrating spring tap. Anyway, back to chemicals. You hear a lot about that. There's some truth to it. There's also a lot of BS out there. I can't find it. I've been looking and looking, but I did find a study a long time ago done in California where they, around the campus, university, they took plants that were next to buildings, next to the roadside. They found no toxins in those plants. No effect at all. I cannot find that study for the life of me, but I did read it, and I found it fascinating. Over the years, I've seen and heard a lot of people talking about that kind of thing. And I can't find anything to back it up, right? Other than the idea that it's there, it must be there, must be in the plant. So let's take, for example, herbicides. The logging companies will put herbicides down the road. Very true. And I'm not encouraging you to harvest alongside those. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only speaking for myself. You just kind of do what you want to do. I'm not going to eat anything off the side of that road for a while. But the truth about those herbicides is they break down in weeks, even months. Even the longest ones are a few months. The longest would be a year. And it depends on the herbicides they put down, the climate they put it in. There's a lot of factors that go into how quickly that breaks down. The other thing interesting about, if you know anything about the chemicals that plants do pick up from the ground, they typically will hold those in their roots and their stem. You do not find the chemicals in the leaves and the fruit or the flowers of the plant. So they hold it in their stems and their roots. Most of the plants that I deal with, I'm not eating the stems or the roots. So again, not a concern. Now again, I'm not going to go in there after they spray herbicides and eat that. That's not what I'm saying. But if it's been, it's been a year and a half, 2 years, because again, they post, I'm probably going to harvest, 10 feet off the side of that trail, and I'm not going to worry too much about it. Now, if I'm doing roots, if I'm digging up dandelion roots to make pickled trees, I'm not going to do that there, just because they can hold that in their roots longer. After a year and a half, any of those herbicides have broken down. But like car exhaust, things like that, I'm not going to harvest on a really, really popular road just because of the garbage and stuff that gets out there and oil and gas. But a lot of these backcountry roads that get limited traffic, you'll see me harvest off of those. Not a lot. I prefer to be out here in the middle of nowhere. That's my preference, but I do that. So don't take this as science. Don't take this as law. Don't say, okay, Richard said I'm going to go out and harvest next to the road. I'm just telling you kind of what I've seen over the years, read, my experience, and kind of what I do. I prefer to be out here in the woods, but sometimes you find a really good treat along the ditch, wild asparagus being a good example. I'm probably going to take that home unless there's something that, that I don't like, a spill, garbage, things like that, which most country roads typically won't have. So anyway, just my, I like to do a rant every once in a while I do this. So I'm going to get back on the trail. Stop ranting. Man, this is amazing. Just look at it. You can see it back in there, all the way back. So this is some lowland. And man, there is just horsetail everywhere. There's like an old mushroom. I might check this out just to see if there's any fungus back in here. Fungi growing back in here, but look at that. There's horsetail everywhere. You could harvest a meal out of this in a quick second. I'm not going to go too far in there. We're probably about done for the day, right, bud? Just about ready to turn back. Man, it just keeps going and going. Well, when I want a good meal of horsetail, I know where to come. Look at that. Jeez. I don't know I've ever seen that much horsetail. Going. There's some low area there off the bottom of that ridge. That must be holding, oh yeah, sure enough, it's holding a lot of moisture. Yeah, so. Very interesting. All right, let's keep on keeping on. Whoa, he's got the zoomies. Don't get the zoomies now, we got a long hike. You crazy? What are you doing? Goofball. You just suddenly got the zoomies. Well, big old foxglove, big old tansy, a few nettles tucked in there, and looks like there's a patch back in there, but we got a big old bag of nettles, so I don't think we're gonna worry too much about that. I think we're gonna finally turn around. I estimate we've went a good 2 miles in, probably more. That's an estimate. My estimates aren't very accurate, but I know we're past 1.5 miles. We passed that some time ago. So back by the before I had my little sit-down break, was 1.5 miles. I was just really hoping to find some kind of fungus as these trees change. Come on, Doze. I'm going back. All right, well, I gotta hike out of here. So, I'll keep my eyes peeled. If I find anything new and fascinating, I'll bring you back in for it. That is not new and fascinating. All right, I'll bring you back if I find anything. Let's go. Getting tired? Whoop. Doze. Wait. Interesting landscape is changing. I hear a vehicle. I wonder if we're coming out of the other side of this. Maybe I'm just hearing the wind. I don't know. I can't tell. It's pretty in here, though. Check it out. Still snooping around, hoping for morale, even though it's really dry. Found a lot of mushrooms, but the morels have evaded me so far. Of course, again, I haven't found any mushrooms at all on this walk, so. But if they were going to be anywhere, this would probably be it, because it's the leaves should hold a little bit of the moisture. All right, I'm going to dig around here, and I think we're going to probably turn back. Let me poke around and see if I can find anything. I'll bring you in if I do. Oh, got some water? Yeah. Man, it's quiet out here. I can see down the valley quite a way, and then there's a ridge up here. Several eagles kind of working the skyline, working this clear-cut area. Dozer chased up a deer just a little while ago. Never really saw it, but heard it run through the brush alongside of us. But it stayed pretty much in the trees. I love it out here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Eagles are hunting. We're foraging. We're taking a little 5 right now. We're on our way back up. Kind of uphill. I can't see much this way because we're headed back up the hill. But super quiet, absolutely gorgeous. Watching the eagles, letting the dog take a rest. Doesn't get any better than this. You know, this is therapy. No music, not a bunch of people, not sitting around drinking beer. Don't get me wrong, I can sit around and drink beer, but that's not what this is about. This is about just connecting with the land and appreciating the quiet, which means I should probably be quiet, right, Doze? Yeah. We're gonna take 5 and then take a little bit to enjoy this. Then I'll get back on the road. Hey, there's the white version of that trillium we found. He's looking a little bent down, but beautiful little flower. That's the trillium. We saw the purple version earlier, and that is the white version. Both are very, oh, there's a little group of them over there. Although, guarded well. Yeah, there's actually a couple purple ones coming up down there. So, we won't fight past this blackberries. Nothing much else in here from what I can see. I'm going to head back to the trail. Man, check that out, guys. Isn't that pretty? So that is definitely salmonberry. Now that I can see the flower. Also, look here. It's got berries on it already. That's awesome. That thing is loaded up with berries. So I'm going to be back here in a few weeks. Those are one of my favorite treats, and they are all over along here. Absolutely awesome. I'll be looking for those again. Right, bud? What'd you find? You didn't find nothing. He likes to forage too. Don't you, bud? Man, they're all along here. All salmonberry, way back in there. I'll be here to do some foraging here in a few weeks. Here's something we're not looking for. Those are kind of tall. I haven't seen any real short. Here's some shorter ones. Those are not the fiddleheads you're looking for. Sorry, couldn't help myself. I don't see any of the kind that we are looking for. But they're all over along here. We want the ones that are short, tightly curled, and have little brown paper around them. Unmistakable when you see them. Very different than those. I haven't seen any along this trail. Oh, poof. Oh, poof. What'd you get in your sniffer, huh? Well, guys, there's only one plant I didn't find today, and that was the yellow dead nettle. I found it yesterday, and I thought it was on this trail somewhere, but apparently not. I also hiked across the road, so maybe it was over there. But that's kind of a cool find. I was hoping to show you that. I do have some pictures I'll put on the Facebook page. But yellow, or they call it golden dead nettle. That is an edible plant. The young shoots and leaves are edible, and the flowers are edible. You can eat them raw in a salad. You can cook them like a vegetable, basically. But that is one I have not eaten. It's actually the first one that I found, which is kind of cool. But I was hoping to find it, but it's been a, whoa, watch your step. It's been a great hike. We are, I would say, 3.5 miles. By the time we're done, we'll be just short of 4 miles. Not a bad hike for an old dog and his dad, but not a single mushroom anywhere to be found. Kind of interesting. Well, I found something. It almost looks like a lion's mane starting, but I'm not sure. I'll probably go back in a few days just to check and see what the heck it is. Didn't really look raggedy enough for that, but it was an odd thing on a log, so we'll go back and check it. Found a couple good camping spots for an overnight. One for a tent, one for a hammock. I know I said I wasn't going to tent camp anymore, but I do have an air mattress I haven't tried, so I may try that again yet. One more time. The hammock is great, but in places like that, with all them young trees, it's almost impossible to hang up. So if I'm going to do anything in those areas, I'm almost going to have another option. Really glad you guys joined us for this. Dozer and I have missed this desperately, and miss having you along with us. Just remember, don't use what I say on these videos as any type of identification. Use it as it's just a fun thing to watch, a little guidance, some new ideas. But make sure when you find it, you do good research. Use your field guides, do some research on it. It's always great to go on a local class with someone who knows what they're doing, or just even go with another forager who's well versed in the local mushrooms and plants. I'm learning this area, and so there's a lot of things here new. I may have misidentified something. I mean, the edible things, my rules. I don't say I think, I believe, or I'm pretty sure with that. If I'm eating it, I know what it is. But there's a couple things I did just in passing that you know, who knows? I could be off. You never know. Or, you know, there's nothing replaces being in the woods with somebody, being close to it, seeing it, feeling it, smelling it. There's nothing replaces that. Video can't replace that. So you really want to get out in the woods with somebody, and or even, you know, I've learned a lot of what I do. I take really good pictures of it, bring it home, and then I do a ton of research. You know, look at the leaves, look at the stem, look at the flower, look at the buds, look at the area that it's growing in. Look up any potential lookalikes and compare it. So a lot of good options. So again, really glad you joined us today. We're going to cut out and get out of here, go have a cigar and some good port, and relax for the rest of the day. But hopefully the next time I see you, and Dozer of course, we're all out doing something wild.